hardworking individual that really wears his heart on his sleeve. So to have him come on board and support this, backing up RFK, backing up Dr. Oz, backing up the whole saving these animals, I've been so lucky with such amazing people. It's been a really long journey. I always have to apologize sometimes of these mornings. It's been go, and we ended up missing flights and sleeping in an airport to get home. But then when I get a letter from, say, the RFK, this latest letter from RFK, or I get this letter from John and he sends it in to Mark Carney, I'm reminded constantly of why we're fighting, what we're doing here, and why to keep pushing.
Yeah, well, I put that letter up again from Bobby Kennedy Jr. because I think so many people were excited and really, really animated by the fact that he was so interested in this case, and I think he's done so much to advance your cause here, and it's truly become an international story. And as I listened to the Crown or the government lawyers, like I said, I didn't hear anything rooted in science. This is all politics.
Yeah, David, you're so right. We actually talked about it yesterday. We were like, again, just saying nothing really, like there was nothing really materialized that was nude in structure or depth for science. Or I really thought that they were going to talk about the quarantine a lot more. They left the quarantine out. They just repeated a lot of past material from the judicial appeal in April. But it was, we have an erosion of trust within these organizations, like the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, that's supposed to be protecting our farmers, and it's doing the complete opposite, and it's attacking. I like to say they're running around like children with loaded handguns, and they're shooting aimlessly, and they're just taking things out, and they don't know the repercussions that are going to fall on our lap in the next coming years with no natural immunity. So this fight is definitely, we're seeing a loss of our farmers, the genetic diversity, biodiversity. We're losing everything. And when we lose that, there's no getting it back when natural immunity is gone. That's where you start to see develop zootonic diseases. That's where you start to see mutated viruses and things that are growing, because you have animals that are not a strong host anymore. They're a weak host because they're young animals and they don't have their natural immunity that they've developed over the time on this earth. So we're really fighting hard to keep our farmers. We're fighting hard for all small farmers, all large farmers that have been affected by this, and not just ostriches. It's cattle, sheep, goats, pigs. We're with everybody, and we're standing really firm in our fight for everyone.
Clearly, it's other animals, but as I've said from the beginning, why everybody should be concerned about this issue is because where do they start next in terms of government overreach and violating the sanctity of your private property, coming onto your farm and insisting you kill up to 399 ostriches without any scientific basis? Do you think the government is just fighting back because they hate to admit that they have been wrong about this from the very beginning?
Absolutely. I can't deny feeling that way. That's for sure. You feel like that they're digging their heels in deeper, the longer this goes, because they don't want to prove that there is a mistake. There would have been a mistake. There would have been a catastrophic mistake if we didn't stand up for these animals, and we would have never become the first recovered flock in Canada. We would have never garnered the attention to say, hey, maybe we should slow down on killing these animals. We never would have got this far. So absolutely. I think we are at such a pivotal time in Canadian history. I think we really deserve some wins. This is a major win for all Canadians in our agricultural sector. If we can set that precedence to show that these organizations need to work with us, not against us. I think that there's a better way of doing things, better way to develop science and come up with different strategies and work with our experts like our healthcare workers. You know, our government should have been working with our healthcare workers, not attacking them when it came to mandates. Same thing with our agricultural sector. They should be working with the experts, and that's our farmers, and they should be asking us what they should be seeing what we have for advice. That, you know, our hands have touched these animals for all these years, and we understand them the best. So it's a long journey, but is it ever worth it? Is it ever worth it? And I don't know what's going to happen next week. We're sitting at the edge of our seats waiting for a decision. But we are definitely prepared to take it to whatever step is next.
Well, I guess that was sort of my next question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the next step? If you don't find justice at this point, what's the next step for you?
The next step would be, if it's a split decision, we're kind of talking that we would have that ability to go to Supreme Court. We would be applying for a leave to go to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is not guaranteed though. So we're just taking at the moment each day at a time, and heavily relying on all that love and support around us. Still trying to educate as much as possible about what we're fighting for here, with people like you that do such an incredible job sharing this information out there. And we're just we're definitely nervous.
Well, there is incredible interest in this story, not just in Canada, but the U.S. I've written several articles for U.S. publications, and they're very interested, not just because the Health and Human Secretary got involved, but because of just a sense of injustice with this, and just a family farm being attacked this way. I thought there was injury added to injury from the government at this appeal hearing, when they revealed that they expect your farm, family farm, to pay any legal expenses incurred by the government. Like, the government can't afford this. And I just find that absolutely outrageous. And what it reminded me of, Katie, is what the government lawyers, what the Crown is trying to do to Chris Barber of the Freedom Convoy. They literally want to take his truck away and shut down his livelihood. I mean, well, how would this would be devastating for you, would it not? If you had to pay legal costs.
Oh, this would be. Yeah, we at the very end of hearing them go on and on and on, and when we heard half of their legal fees, we just kind of we wouldn't expect anything less, honestly. You know, they came after us last time in the judicial review for half of their court costs. So it wasn't insult to injury, though. You're absolutely right. We sat there in an emotional state of, you don't know if you're going to lose everything. Two families' livelihoods. There's almost 400 souls that are depending on this decision. These animals have so many more years to live, and so much opportunity to offer the world. And here they're coming after us with court costs. It was it was very sad. It was a very sad moment. It really was.
Well, it's punitive, and as I say, it's more than insult. It's secondary injury, and that seems to be what they want here. But I'm curious. Are you disappointed there hasn't been more political support? I mean, I'm not expecting anybody in the Liberal cabinet to come forth. I'm disappointed, and you might feel awkward about responding to this, but I'm disappointed that Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, this is the same man who walked from the House of Commons across the street to meet with the Freedom Convoy 3 years ago. But he has said absolutely nothing about this case. And I don't think he could lose, actually, in terms politically lose, because I know most of the grassroots supporters of that party are probably in your camp on this, and they're supporting it. So, excuse me. I think he's making a mistake by not stepping out and supporting you, and you do too. Yeah,
I do too. It's been heartbreaking to see, actually, that we're getting garnering so much more attention and support from the USA. And they can take their goggles off and see through the lenses that we have something huge for economic opportunity We have something here to help animal and human welfare. They can understand the science of avian influenza better than our own government. And, Trump's big, beautiful bill on July 4th, they're really moving in the right direction. And I think we really need to pay attention. Would have been really great. My son traveled to 3 different rallies of Pierre's, 3, waited in line for hours to meet him. And to, that was one of my son's questions. Well, have you heard from him? And I said, nope. And that was really disappointing for him to be a 23-year-old boy and has done so much to pay into the party, travel to meet this man and see that this is happening. And here we are getting the letters of RFK and Dr. Oz. And it's been disappointing. It's been very disappointing. But
I find it incredible. But because he's not, there's no federal election right now. So if he's worried about perhaps alienating some voters who won't vote for him anyway, what he's really running for now is not just a by-election in one of the most conservative parts of Alberta, but he's really fighting for his leadership. And I think one way that he could probably sustain that leadership would be to appeal to a lot of the grassroots supporters who come out and vote. The grassroots supporters who are very active in the party, and he's not doing that. So I don't understand, and I share your concern that it's American people, American libertarians, American small c conservatives, American Republicans who are coming forth and saying this is unjust, this is wrong. I'm not hearing enough about this from Canadian politicians.
Were you satisfied with the mainstream media coverage of this appeals court date? Because I went through, I think, all of it, and I was impressed. You got some of the major outlets out there that I don't even watch very much anymore, except to find out what they're doing. But in terms of mainstream Canada, they still watch Global, they still watch CBC, and they're still reading the major dailies. Were you satisfied that they seemed at least to try to be fair about this?
They have been fair the whole way through. I really have to say, minus 1 or 2 maybe articles that have not been the best. I want to say thank you to the mainstream media because they have really pulled through. They've shown up. They've done good coverage. They've done very honest stories for the most part. Really staying biased, not biased. Just really looking at the whole picture, looking at the science, asking really good questions. And they have been good to us. They really have. So everybody asks me or has said to me, be careful, stay away. But they've really done a great job. So I have been satisfied. Yeah, there was a lot of fear there in the beginning because everybody was saying, you better be careful. They could tear you apart. And they definitely have had that opportunity. But I think we're all seeing as Canadians that our families' food and food security and their freedoms and things are on the line again. And I think that this is affecting a lot of the mainstream media journalists, the journalism. Sometimes I talk to them before and I say, do you have kids? Do you have a family? Because what would happen, if Canadian Food Inspection Agency came to your door, how would that feel? What would you do? And we go through that whole process. I've gained a lot of relationships through this process as well in that area.
Yes, I'm sure you have. This has been a heck of a difficult time for you and the farm. And I think you've weathered the storm admirably, and I think you've communicated the message. But I will say, the mainstream media, like I worked for years as an Air Force public affairs officer. I had to deal with CBC and CTV and Global and all these people on a weekly basis. And I always found that if you were honest with the mainstream media and if you presented your point and you just said, here, watch what we do. And I used to say that about the military. See the great job we do saving people's lives with our search and rescue. See the great job, how dedicated these men and women are. And to a person, everybody who came to my base in Comox, in your province, left with a positive impression of the military because I said, here, you're free to watch and you're free to see what these people do. how they're so dedicated to their jobs. And I think that's true with what you're saying, is that the government hasn't got a case. There's no case here for science, and I think the journalists are seeing through it. I saw the same thing happen with the Freedom Convoy trial that I attended with Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. Initially, the mainstream media was almost on side with the government and the prosecution, saying, these people are just outrageous, and these horrid truckers.
Yeah.
By 3 months into that trial, I even saw outlets like CBC were sympathetic to Tamara and Chris because they listened, and the evidence, as far as I was concerned, was overwhelming. And I think that is on your side as well, Katie. The evidence you have is overwhelming, and this is clearly about politics. This is clearly about the government wanting to impose its regulations and its rules on you. And I guess that's what worries me most about this, is that what are the implications for Canadian society and government overreach in general if they get away with this, in your opinion?
Oh, it'll be catastrophic. It's not even just if we can't set a precedent here of how hard we fought, if we cannot get past the 6 months in jail, being threatened 6 months in jail for testing or treating your own animals, and up to a $200,000 fine per animal. If we can't get past these hurdles with the policy and start restoring the trust and faith back in Canadians, it's a catastrophic failure. We really need to look at repairing these organizations. We need to look at healing that trust. The farmers we're going to run into a really big problem with no natural immunity. I keep saying that. Let's go down that road. With no natural immunity, we are creating disease, we're creating viruses, we're allowing those to mutate, we're creating a lack of biodiversity, genetic diversity. Our farmers are giving up. They're surrendering. We're going to see a shortage in food security. We're going to see with a reliance on more government-supplied meat and food. We're going to see it would be awful. I mean, and I think that's why we're garnering so much attention, so much support, because it's not just this doesn't make sense just to the average Canadian a family, but then it's a farmer, and then it's a mother that is trying to feed her children, and
digital cyber meltdown.
You're starting to break up there, Katie. But thanks for joining me today. I know you had a trip from hell yesterday back from Ottawa to British Columbia. Flight's delayed, so thank you very much for joining me. And that was probably all I wanted to ask. But thanks for spending some time with us this morning and for being a part of the show today. And sorry about that, folks. We had some breaking up at the end there, but I think we had 20 minutes with Katie, and that was fantastic. So thank you so much for watching that. I've got another little sidebar story here, which I think will be of interest to you, because you know how we have criticized the government's heat pump. This was Justin Trudeau's pet project, the heat pumps that are just great if you live in Florida for heating your home, but not so good if you live in Edmonton or Sault Ste. Marie or places where it gets a little colder. So this is, shall we say, a comic, tragic tale of the heat pump scam.
Thompson's North Vancouver home might be